What do we have in here? Nope. Nope. Yes. Also yes. Get back in there! How's everyone? My name is Jake and welcome to another video. In this video from the depths of hell, otherwise known as my drawer, I have pulled what we have of the Kronos and the Sentinel integration project, which a lot has been done. That's scary. Do you need water though? Actually, are you okay?
No, you feel bad.
No, yeah, I'm sorry. Do you need water? Are you sure? Do you want Pib? I want Pib. But yeah, we're pulling out the old Kronos Sentinel integration that pretty soon will be about a year old, or at least a year since I initially started this project, which, if you need a refresher the way I did, I will actually leave a link down in the description to the previous video on this particular project. But yeah, a quick overview of what's been done to these blasters, the cuts that have been made, the planning that's been done, and how we're going to be pivoting the project in a bit of a different direction possibly, and some quick modifications. So when we last left off, I hadn't done any cuts to the shell, though I did do, of course, this cut here to the plunger tube where I fully removed the dart breech. Other than that, all these cuts you see on the shell are brand new, and I think I even posted them on Instagram sometime shortly after they were done. And then again, when I did even more cuts, thinking that I was going to make a video on this a lot sooner, that ended up not happening. But I did do most of these cuts with James, who has sadly left the Fun Battalion. He's somewhere in central U.S. now. Actually, I probably should text him. I'm a bit of an asshole because I haven't texted him in a while and said bye. But he loaned us his shop for the day. Got some cuts done on his belt sander. No, not his belt sander. His bandsaw. I really got to get myself a porta bandsaw at some point to set up here. That'd be really helpful. But yeah, so I did some of these cuts at his place. So real quick, actually, to explain why there's no stock, this is basically the overall profile that we got going on here. Now, figuring that out, that this is what the front is going to look like, basically, I got really annoyed trying to pick a stock to put on this that would be both comfortable and visually appealing, because there's the sling fire, which I feel like most people do. I was talking to Vile. He says the Saturn stock would have probably been a good option. I thought maybe a long strike, I think the long strike stock would have been pretty okay. But in the end, I decided to just lob the whole thing off. So cut it off, rounded it off. Now we got a sweet mare's leg, which is always fun. The Kronos, looking at the cuts on the Kronos side, I really wanted to save this shape that we have right here. And I cut into the shell here, this little recess that's there. I trimmed down into that, and we got a straight cut here, which would have followed the plunger tube, though excuse me, I lost the plunger tube, which is fine because I think I cut too much of it anyway. And talking about pivoting the project, it was most likely never going to work. That's actually part of the reason why this video was on pause for so long, is because I came into the exact same problem that I think Wacom found himself getting into, is that the internals just don't really want to play with each other, or at least it's very difficult to make them play with each other. I came up with a solution that could work, but in terms of getting the actual internal magazine system to work, where you have to pull the entire system back and then forward to chamber, along with having to prime it with a lever, and the plunger tube itself goes back. Yeah, it wasn't meshing the way that I had thought it would. And that comes down to the Sentinel being very skinny. It's too thin, whereas the Kronos is a little too chunky. And while it does look really cool, it just is a little too square to really match up. Pulling it back, it wasn't going to fit in here, and I don't have enough of the Chronos shell to be able to work around it, to wrap it around the shell of the Sentinel. Now, I was in a voice chat with Vile the other day talking about this project, seeing if you can help me figure out how to crack this thing. We came to two options, one that we'll get into near the end of the video. The second one is where we fully just trash the Chronos. We just get rid of it. There's another rival blaster called the finisher. And for a long time, I thought the finisher was shit. I didn't like the way it looked very much, but the internals of it could work a lot better with the Sentinel. In order to chamber a new round, what the finisher does is as you pull the prime back, the barrel rotates. And then when you pull it forward, it rotates back and grabs another round to fire. Now, there are some pros and cons to using the finisher versus the Chronos. Having a Chronos, you don't need to carry mags on you, you just need a pocket full of ammo that you can top off on the fly. With the finisher, you have to carry mags, but luckily I already have a whole rig for the Hera, which takes magazines, that I can use easily for this. Plus, even at its lowest capacity of 7 rounds with the 7-round magazines, that's still 2 more than you would have with the Chronos. The finisher would also possibly be more forgiving since it would give me a lot more room to work with inside of it than the Chronos having to pull back the entire mechanism. I only really need to pull the barrel back on the finisher. I know it sounds a little confusing, but we really thought this out. Me and Vi on that call, all 5.5 brain cells that we shared between us were really firing. And he's even been so kind as to set aside a finisher for me that he'll send to me in due time. And in due time, this will come together. It is no longer a Chrono Sentinel, but it is still something that I think will be really, really cool, and still something that I think will pay homage to the low blow, to the original Chrono Sentinel. Now, right now, I really want to open this thing up and get some work done, but it's like 1:27 a.m. and I don't have anywhere to be tomorrow, so I can definitely get a lot of stuff done on this tomorrow. I can get everything done on this tomorrow. Uh, but we got started. It's something, and either way, I'm really excited. And I'll see you guys in just a little bit. So I decided to be a silly little baby and forgot to actually turn my mic on when I was recording me doing it, but we've made a little bit of progress. We have the lever action bar right here, which is made out of cast steel, so it's not very comfortable to actually do this over and over with. What we did is we took some craft foam and some e-tape, and I just cut pieces of the foam out, stuck it to the metal, wrapped it in e-tape, and now while I don't have footage, or that I do, I just forgot to put my mics on, while I don't have usable footage of me doing that, it's pretty straightforward. You just cut the shape out that you need, stick it, or if you don't have sticky back craft foam like I do, you can probably just glue it, and then wrap it in e-tape so that you're not just touching raw foam. It does make for a very comfortable prime. It's a lot better than just raw steel. I would prefer had I used black e-tape, but orange is all I have, and this isn't permanent, so if I want to, I could just rip it all off, put new foam, and wrap it in black e-tape. I also want to point out this little plimbus, whatever this thing is. This little round tube sits on the peg where the actual rotation begins for the lever action. You actually need to slip it into the lever before you put it on the peg. And without that, it will not work. Now the next thing we'll be doing is patting the plunger head on the plunger rod, but we need the hot glue gun for that, so it's heating up right here. And while it heats up, I need to correct myself. Before going to bed last night at 3 a.m., I asked Vile to be sure about how the finisher internals work. And I said before, like 5 minutes ago, that they rotate. They don't. The way it works actually is when you prime back, it doesn't rotate. You prime back, and as you prime, the barrel gets pushed forward and then is brought back to grab around when you put the prime back in position to fire. The same sort of priming mechanism can be found on both the Apollo and the Helios, I believe. And yeah, I was not going to retake that footage last night. I was so sleepy. It didn't hit me until 2 o'clock, but I was really sleepy. Woke up really late, by the way. It's already like 3 in the afternoon. But it's a pretty cozy, gray, wet day outside. You wouldn't be able to tell because there's actually a good amount of light coming into the room. But yeah, once this is heated up, we're going to get to cutting some more foam, patting this plunger head, and then we have one last thing to do. First thing that we want to do here is remove the O-ring. Set that aside. And if you can't tell, there's this little recess inside the head, and that's I would call it dead space. I know that is a term used often in springers, but I'm not sure if it counts here. Either way, we're gonna fill that in. Then we're gonna do is we're gonna take this bit of foam that I eyeballed to the shape of that little circle. We're gonna stick it in there, and then we're gonna take our hot glue gun and just top it with a bit of hot glue. Hot glue is the basis of all Nerf modding. If you don't have a mod that doesn't use hot glue, did you even really mod? Answer me that. Alright, we got some good little globs in there. Now we're going to cut some more pieces of foam out. And now that we've got a hot glue sandwich there, we're going to do one last piece of foam going all the way around. And to ensure there's no dragging inside the plunger tube, we went ahead and drew out the exact diameter that we need the padding on the tip to be. And of course, before we stick it down, we do need some hot glue. Stick that down. And if there is some overhang like I have here, you could always just trim it. This also could have been more exact had I used scissors, but I decided not to go grab those. Also, if halfway through you realize that your blade is actually kind of dull and you got to reverse it, don't be afraid to go ahead and just reverse it. You know, you don't want to look like a goober. Moral of the story is if you want cleaner cuts, use scissors. But let's put our O-ring back and see how she fits. Nice and smooth. Alright, so the action is a lot more comfortable. I think it may need a little extra padding because it is still kind of violent, but there's no air restrictor, so what do you expect? So I'm actually going to turn the light on and then grab a saw. So the reason why we need a saw is because I'm going to take the barrel that sits inside of the Kronos, I'm going to cut a little bit of it off, and we're going to hot glue it to the end of the plunger tube. It's at this point that I've pretty much fully decided that I'm not going to be using the Kronos. I am going to be going with the finisher, but one of the ideas I had on keeping the Kronos intact is to simply remove that internal magazine entirely and insert some sort of breech loading mechanism where you load one round at a time, close it up, fire, lever, opens up, ball, and that's really cool. But I already have a chest rig built around specifically rival magazines, so using a rival mag fed blaster is really not a problem to me. But I still want to see if theoretically my breech loading idea would work, and so I'm going to cut a bit of the barrel off, hot glue it, and we're going to see how exactly that fires. And so you see, friction fits right in. That is not coming out. And there's the final result. Already got a ball in there. Let's see if it fires. So unfortunately, this is not the first test fire, but you guys, I tried it and it works. Shove that down in there. It works. I Genuinely cannot believe it works. The hot glue is actually holding up fairly well. So my idea was to use a breech. Now this is not a breech, this is more of a lever action front loader, but the idea was turning it into some sort of similar system. I could keep the chrono shell sort of as a facade for what's inside. There's no internal magazine. You would just prime it back, which I can actually see when it's primed back. You cannot quite access it. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, there's a little bit too much of a gap. So this wouldn't really work unless, of course, I had some longer bit of rival barrel material, which me and Vile also talked about. But the fact that in this form it's able to work astonishes me. This is awesome. I'm so hyped that this works. I've confirmed what we've known all along. The Sentinel can fire rival and even has unrecognized potential. It could fire even better, even harder. And as cool as this unfortunately is not going to be the direction we're going in. After talking with Vile, I can't get over the whole idea of using the finisher. This works. In this form, it can work, but the thing about it is that it doesn't use the bonuses of having a Chronos give you, because with the Chronos you have the internal magazine, and you don't have access to that anymore when you replace it with a front loading breach type of mechanism. A bit of a bummer, but maybe I can come back to this concept with the Mark II. That is for sure gonna happen, for sure, guys. Definitely gonna kill another Sentinel just to do this. And now, really quick, before we sign off, I want to reveal the name of this project, which, if you're in a few servers, you may already know, but I have dubbed this the Capybara Defense Swan Song. In the last build vlog video on the Baron, I showed this image showing the Baron with a Capybara Defense sticker. So Capybara Defense is the fictional arms manufacturer that I came up with. The logo of my channel, Billy the Capybara, I needed to do something Capybara related, and Capybara Defense rolls off the tongue, to me at least, and I think it sounds really cool. But the name Swan Song comes from a couple of things. For one, we don't see a lot of rival blasters anymore, at least new designs, and I think Hasbro is very close to putting the last nail in the coffin on that line of blasters, which I hope they don't. I'd like to be wrong, but their priorities seem to be in other places when it comes to their, foam dart or just, dart blaster toys, and so we might not see some in the very near future. We might see the demise of the rival line. And so this is a final goodbye to Rival, as well as a final goodbye to the original low blow, to the original Chrono Sentinel that Wacom did all those years ago. Now, as far as I know, he never finished it, and it could very well just not exist unless, like I said last time, it's just hiding somewhere in the iceberg in his studio. I've asked him more times than I probably should have. I even sent an email asking if he could give us a confirmation on where the low blow actually is in the state that it's in, if he ever plans to complete it. I've asked him quite a few times on stream. He's probably really annoyed with me, if he even remembers me. I doubt he does. But we don't know. So it's a final goodbye to the low blow, as well as the rival line in its entirety. Now, if I'm wrong, and one day Wacom decides to pull the low blow out of storage and finish it, or if there's a plethora of rival blasters to come, then either way, Swan Song is still kind of a new name. Kind of a cool name. Why did I say new? But until Vile can send me the finisher, we're going to be at another pause, so we're going to have to find something else to work on. I have some ideas. Blaster Talk should be coming soon. Maybe not this month. I wanted it to be this month. We'll see. Other than that, thank you guys for watching. Let me know what you think of this project. Let me know what you're working on in the comments below. Like and subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll see you guys next time.